Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Africa Youth Leadership Forum livestream, where we discuss issues affecting the youth with the intent to shape opinion and aspire young people to rise up and take up positions of leadership. So today we have a very interesting discussion, and not just an interesting discussion, but today is a very historical day because on this day 10 years ago, Kenya promulgated her constitution. And I don't know how many of our panelists remember that day. Thousands and thousands of Kenyans flocked to Uhuru Park. There was a spirit of happiness, of hope, of jubilation. I remember people singing, Daima Kenya, forgive me, I have a terrible voice, but yes, nilimba ndani ndani. But anyway, so today with us, we are going to look at 10 years after the Constitution, after the promulgation of the Constitution. And as I mentioned, on that specific day, our then President, Mwai Kibaki, said the following words, that as we embark on the journey of national renewal, I ask all of us to keep in mind the vision of a new Kenya. A new Kenya where we will no longer have people living in absolute poverty or facing unemployment. A new Kenya where food insecurity will be a thing of the past. We are on the march towards a Kenya where there will be no more unemployment and more opportunities for employment and business. A new Kenya where there is better housing, better healthcare, and better education for our people. A new Kenya where all citizens will lead productive and dignified lives. This is the promise of the new constitution. And so today, exactly 10 years after this constitution was promulgated, we want to assess whether we have achieved the promise of a new Kenya. We will look at the gains, the challenges, and the opportunities that the constitution has brought with us. And with that, I have an amazing panel today. I don't know whether to start right here next to me. I will introduce them briefly and then let them answer one general question. Yeah? And so this is the question that they will answer. When the team that was tasked with the job of going through the country and listening to the views of the people on what they want in a constitution, most of Kenyans said that all they were concerned about is food, water, and sanitation, just very, very basic needs. So today, 10 years on, do you think we have achieved that? Do you think that Wanjiku has realized that? What are the very, very basic needs? And yes, so let me start. We have Zach here, right next to me. Zach is a phenomenal young man. He actually was a former MCA aspirant. Karibu sana Zach. He will say hi in a minute. Next to him, we have Honorable Kagusha, who is the Speaker, Nyeri County Assembly. Karibu sana. Next to him, we have Muthoni, a very promising young leader again. She is a lawyer and an aspiring leader. Karibu sana Muthoni. And last but not least, we have Robin, who is a legal consultant and a policy analyst. Karibu sana. So as they say hi, I want them to tackle that first question. So let's start with Zach right here.
Hi, my name is Zachary Babel. Beside that, being a former political analyst, I'm also a political analyst currently with various media houses, and also former MCA aspirant. Anyway, when we go to that about our constitution, actually nothing has been done. The Wanjiku has not felt the impact, all the views being articulated the way they gave them when the committee was going around picking the views from the common mwananchi. Because our leaders, and majority of them focus on the leadership, not about the leadership about themselves. It's about, they don't focus about the mwananchi. So nothing has been done. That's what I can say with the current constitution. And the problem is implementation. The constitution is good, they gave their views, but nothing has been done on the part of implementation.
Thank you. So that's a problem of implementation. We have a beautiful constitution, beautiful laws, but our biggest problem is implementation. Thank you, Zach. Next, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. When the constitution was promulgated at a time like this, 10 years ago, one of the things that it sought to do is to distribute resources probably much more closer to the people. And As many would remember, in 2010, we were having one national government that would distribute resources as far as the northern part of Kenya, the southern part of Kenya, the eastern side of Kenya. But now this new constitution broke Kenya into 47 counties, where now resources would be domiciled, and those resources then would be redistributed into what we would call a ward, which is really now a small unit in our country, which is represented by a member of county assembly, where Zach was an aspirant in 2017. And the fact that in this constitution we were able now to implement the new order and in terms of devolution, we have and we have been able to now devolve a lot of funds and resources to the grassroots. Of course, we have challenges which we'll be able to enumerate as we move forward. But I would want to say that quite a bit has been achieved through the devolution of resources to the people on the ground. And I say, today, if you have no water in your village, you have no good road, particularly the smaller roads that are supposed to be made to be all-weather roads. You have someone accountable. Actually, there's someone you hold their shots and tell them, in 2022, when we have a new election, will be on your case and will not give you the votes. And so you see that accountability and responsibility has also been devolved now to a person who is much more on the ground. So quite a bit has been done, and of course we have a lot of challenges that we have to surmount so that we can get to a new Kenya that we expected and we hoped for.
Thank you very much, Honorable. I like that. We should look for our leaders and hold their shots. So let me just look straight into the camera and ask my MCA Mwanda, I am coming for your shot for 2022. Let's have Muthoni now.
Thank you very much. My name is Muthoni Mburu. I am I'm a lawyer and also an aspirant for 2022. I won't say where for now. Yes, however, thank you very much for this opportunity. And on that question on whether and how far we've gone with the Constitution, I think it is actually very important to state that indeed we have moved a notch higher, because we remember very well this Constitution, even the coming of this Constitution, it was to come to serve a purpose at that point in time. We were just coming from 2007 election, and from then we've been able to see, even through devolution, as Mheshimiwa has said here, we have been able to see even devolved rights and more resources going into people at county level. But apart from that, we've seen institutions being strengthened to perform their tasks. I can say there's no country for sure that has an absolute or a perfect constitution. However, we have a good constitution. But if I was to give a scorecard, which I'll give at the end of the discussion perhaps, is that we have been able to have a very nice document, so everyone is right at their own way. However, there are some things we feel they have not been effectively performed or done to the 100%. So on my own account, I feel like, yes, we've had some things going down to Mwananchi in that sense. However, other issues will emanate from the discussions, but I can still say for sure the spirit of the Constitution as to why it was written, the purpose and the spirit of the Constitution as it is written even and stipulated in the preamble, has not fully been fulfilled. Yeah.
Thank you, Muthoni. We are really looking forward to that scorecard at the end. And I also suggest that at the end, as you're giving the scorecard, please let us know where you want to stand, just in case it is where Zach wants to stand, so that if there's a fight, we can just mediate it here and finish. And last but not least, we have our resident legal consultant and policy analyst. Karibu.
Thank you so much. My name is Robin Murimi Karani, but people could like to call me Ro, and that's just for politics. I wish to take a different angle from the panelists, and my angle is basically on have we achieved what we were supposed to achieve, or do we even know what we are supposed to achieve? And my take is the fact that in as much as we speak of what we have achieved with the Constitution and what we have not achieved with the Constitution, I still believe that a number of us, a great number of us, don't understand what's actually in the Constitution. it's quite shameful to find that 90% of our leaders don't even know what's in the constitution. When you hear them say this is in the constitution, you actually look at the constitution, it has nothing of what they are speaking of. And so that's been my biggest challenge. Like at 10, we're supposed to look at where we've come from and try to get our people to understand exactly what is the constitution, what does the constitution do, and what does the constitution provide. Because in as much as we can talk about vying, we can talk about food, we can talk about water, if we don't know what's in that paper, we will never implement it, as Zach says. We will not understand the full benefits of devolution, as Mheshimiwa speaks about. We will not even get to do a scorecard, as my colleague here, Muthoni, tries to put it, if we don't even understand what's in that constitution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robin. And in the spirit of making people understand what is in the Constitution, today just know that we gotcha. We have your back. We are backs today. So now I want us to go to the second phase of the discussion. And as I read earlier, our then president, when the Constitution was being promulgated, assured us that the new constitutional dispensation would create so many opportunities for the youth, and it would lead to the attainment of young people's goals, dreams, and desires. So he noted that there would be a lot of investment in the youth to enable them to harness their full potential. And you know, to some extent, this was actually very true, because Article 55 of the Constitution provides that the state shall take measures, including affirmative action programs, to ensure that the youth have access to education and training, they have opportunity to associate and participate in political, social, economic and other spheres of life, to access employment, and are protected from harmful cultural practices and exploitation. So we see that that is what the Constitution provides. And you know, since the promulgation of the Constitution, we have had 2 elections, 2013 and 2017. And in the last election, we had 3,428 youth who vied for all, you know, the various elective positions, from president all the way to member of the County Assembly, and of which 6% were female and 94% were male. However, from the 3,428 aspirants, only 314 youth were elected. So here today we have Zach, who is a former MCA aspirant. And Zach, we would like you to share, what are the challenges in ensuring meaningful participation of the youth in elective politics? Because number one, we have seen that is what the Constitution has, you know, stated. But you know, you have been there before. So tell us, you know, from qua ground. Yes, the Constitution Article 55 says this, but you know, what are the challenges that that youth face in participating in politics, and what can be done to make sure that more young people, including Muthoni here, are elected?
That's why tunasema kwa ground vitu ni different from what you are seeing outside here and maybe from our constitution. Actually, there was a lot of challenges that I personally underwent. These kind of challenges were people believe in handouts, which I was sure if we could have implemented Chapter 6 of our Constitution of integrity, of that, the side of integrity, we could not be having these kind of things of the voters believing on the handout for you to get something. Also, the political parties, they don't believe in young people. Like Muthoni, when we'll be going for that seat, you'll notice that someone who has been in politics, let me use an example of Mheshimiwa Kaguchi, who has been in politics, it is easier for him to be given the political party and a good political party and a ticket to vie, more than somebody who has not been in politics, who is just coming out. And you're from the perspective that you have not, also you are not employed. By the time I was vying, it's the time I was graduating actually in 2016. I straightly went to politics. And by that, I was not having money to invest, to give as a handouts to people. And the people believed. Also, there's a notion, not only in government about the Constitution, no. It's also there's a notion with we Kenyans that young people can't make it in a political seat without having a family first. Because the majority told me you should go back get married for me to give you a party ticket. And or not told even the voters told me to look for a wife first.
Can hook you up.
Yeah, for me, for me to get to go to a political arena, and they usually there's a way that our image, we have been branded as the young people. They see it like you are not able to address the old. Those people who are in other position, you cannot stand before them and address them. They see you like you have no point to tell us, boy. You have to relax and grow. That's the kind of challenges we face. So my take is they should implement Chapter 6 of the Constitution, whereby these things of handouts that you have to have political muscles and money to dish out for you to sabotage the person, the young guy who is coming up, maybe like Muthoni, how will be going. But if things don't change, Muthoni, you have to prepare with some good amount of money for you to be able to win this nation. That's what is there. If things don't change,
Yeah.
These things, they can only change if they implement some things. That's what I can say. So there's a lot of challenges from the political party, say sabotaging you getting a party ticket. When you go as an independent candidate, nobody will give even enough funds to. Maybe now what can be done is we should be having a kitty for the young people while going for the political seats. That you should be able to be supported by the government or by the other entities or the political parties. Yeah.
Thank you, Zach. Those are really tough challenges, and I hope that by 2017 we'll have, found solutions to some of those. At least for the wife, that one we can sort.
Yeah, we should sort that actually.
No, we can even right now after this. Yeah. But I don't know whether AYLF, probably can think of coming up with a fund to support young leaders. But I don't know, ni nini inasumbwanga wa Kenya? Why are we like this?
It's like mkono mtupu
haulambwi. Anyway, wahenga, let's blame wahenga. Anyway, so let's have Muthoni, now that we have just touched to you right now. So looking at a gender perspective, there were 179 elected women in the last election. 179, not too much, against 1,731 elected men. And we had 106 men nominated against 673 nominated women. So, from where you sit, what do you think are some of the challenges that women face, especially young women, when it comes to running for elective posts? And are we moving in the right direction?
This is a very good question, which is so dear and close to myself. And first of all, I would like to really thank AYLF for having such great platforms, because even through this is one of the ways of campaigning and selling your seras kwa wananchi, which is quite a very good thing, and it's quite commendable. And even addressing the question of the challenges we face as young women when we immerse ourselves and send ourselves to the world to compete for these spaces, which are known to be very hard to get, especially for women. The numbers are stressing. The numbers are really even scary to think of it. And the main even reason why the equality clause was article was put in place, Article 27 of the Constitution, was to ensure that at least we can have women. It was as an affirmative action to ensure that women are given more spaces and a more equal ground. The 2/3 gender rule, if it can only be implemented. And it's quite sad, because along this discussion we'll have so many people saying, if it can only be implemented, if it can only be implemented. We have good laws there, but it is like new wine on old casks. The same people, the people who have been accustomed or accorded the nafasi, the opportunity to make sure that these laws that have been put in place are enforced, are the people that I feel on my end are letting us down. For instance, let me give you an example, even without blaming the political sphere or the legislative arm, executive arm, or judiciary. For instance, in fact, that is only the number in political arena. Even when you look at the judiciary, the composition even of the Supreme Court of Kenya, it is quite wanting, finding out that it has not met the threshold. Meaning that even currently as we speak, national government, the national assemblies, actually I was checking, we have around 7 national county governments who have executed the who have implemented the 2/3 gender rule, leaving out the rest of, and it's quite depressing and sad. So I feel like, even as I was saying, not only blaming government and not only blaming the key stakeholders. Let me give you an example of even media. For you to get an opportunity like this one, that's why I'm very grateful of articulating and speaking your mind out. The only way you can get it is probably if you are known somewhere, you've been endorsed somewhere, or you are corrupting or bribing someone for you to be in a, and it's quite sad to say, to be in a broadcast and to air your opinion. So I must say, I don't want to be the doom prophet all the time and complain and keep on saying, oh, this is not being done, this is not being done. However, if we can just have people who believe in women leadership, because we've shown over the years that it is possible. So not just having beautiful laws which are there and living in a euphoria thinking that that's how a particular way of things to be done. Execution of what has been written would really be a good go-ahead for the young people of this country and especially for women of this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Muthoni, for that passionate appeal. And we really hope that, you know, as we go along, this next 10 years of the Constitution, that things will definitely get better. And now that we have Mheshimiwa in the room, you know, one of the objects of devolution was to give powers of self-governance to the people and to enhance the participation of people in government and, you know, in making decisions affecting them. So in the last election, as noted earlier, we had 3,091 young people on the ballot for MCA position, with Zakia included. And out of the 3,091, only 287 of them were elected. Has this been one of the biggest gains of the Constitution? And are young people sufficiently taking up, you know, these leadership spaces that were created by the Constitution?
Yeah, thank you very much, Wakesho. And what you need to look at is, out of the 200 and something you have mentioned that were elected, how many youths were also nominated? And particularly the women. Because as we talk today, there's no one county assembly which does not have a third of women in the county assembly. At least that threshold has been met. I know where we have a problem with the threshold is in National Assembly and not Senate. Senate we have, I think there we have also been able to meet the threshold because these numbers are quite lower in terms of nominating women then who can be able to bridge that gap. But when you go to the National Assembly, because of the large numbers of people who are there, then it has been very difficult to meet that. And that's why I say we should not be looking at the issue of the gender in our country based on using the National Assembly lenses. A lot has been achieved in terms of gender. If you look at even in this room in particular, in fact, women could be much more. And when I look even at your crew, that generally now has been accepted as the norm. And there is no one place that we do not consider the issue of gender. Even in churches, when people are actually nominating or electing their leaders, you realize that that has been a very, very important consideration based on the our provisions and clauses in the Constitution. And also, I would also want to challenge young people. When you see we have these opportunities, you really have to take them up. I was elected as a speaker when I was 34 years old. The age of a young person or a youth in Kenya is 35 years. And when I was elected as a speaker at 34 years, I was a young person, I was a youth, and my deputy speaker was at 32 years then. So that's already a county assembly led by the young people. When I look at the number of young people who have also been elected or nominated in Nyeri County Assembly, I also find that number to be quite high. In fact, I pride to be having one of the youngest, actually I think the youngest MCA in Kenya who was elected at the age of 24 years. He was called the bicycle MCA, Honorable Muturi of Gatito Morogoro Ward in Nyeri County. In fact, he was one of the people who were showcased at Bomas when Jubilee was doing their meetings. And I have had about 6 weddings in the County Assembly of Nyeri as we talk. I have had 6 weddings led by Muturi himself, Honorable Muturi himself. And this tells you that we have a lot of young people who are interested and who are taking the action. And so I want to think and believe that we just need to be very positive and pursue these positions when we have the opportunity. Honorable Muturi did not have money at the age of 24, and he was not an elite. He's a young boy in the village. He's not like a person who had been exposed even to these kind of facilities and ideas and even structures that would help you and support you to get to that position. And so sometimes it can be challenging, yes, I agree, but it is good to give it a try. It's good to remain positive. It's good to avoid whining, but much more look for solutions. Now, at this point, I would also want to say that devolution has really helped us to have youth participation much more. And I keep saying we are not yet there. We have a long way to go, because one of the ways of ensuring that the youth and the young people are participating properly, especially in the political discourse, is by empowering them. My friend Zaki has clearly pointed out, he is coming from a university, no employment, no money, so it becomes a bit technical or a bit challenging for him now to pursue a political agenda and a political career. That's why I think the issue of empowerment of young people remains very key and core to the political pursuit by young people. Because if you empower someone with a job, with employment, if a young person is able to also create a job somewhere and employ other people, then he gets a bit of economic muscle, and then he's able to now confidently sell his ideas and his agenda to other people in Kenya. Now, when I come to the issue of devolution, you find that when you look at Article 10 of our Constitution on the national values and principles of our country, the issue of democracy, the issue of accountability, and the issue of public participation is so key and so core that you cannot overlook that particular aspect. Today, if you have to even take on any program, it has to be put in the newspaper, and this has to do with public participation. So this is a point where I now ask upon the young people to come in strength and in numbers and oppose any policies that do not include and don't bring on board the young people. If you have policies which are being developed at the county level, at the national level, and you don't agree with them, and you don't think they have any inclination towards empowering young people, you have the power, you have the authority, you have the numbers to come and put that to a halt through public participation. And this is a very, very strong tool. But again, I know we don't make use of those kind of tools so well. So I think we still need then to have people in positions of power, even over and above the issue of public participation, who have the goodwill, who have the youth in their own minds, and the women also, when we are looking at the issue of gender, so that they can make decisions that then would be able to create empowerment for our young people. And that is why I think as probably we look at the issue of political participation, which is very, very key, we would also need to look at the economic participation of young people. When the government came up with the issue of technical institutions, developing technical institutions, that was supposed to empower young people. And these technical institutions were supposed to be put in every constituency, in every county. I do not think we have yet gotten there. I know the government came up with a 30,000 bursary or assistance for those who join the technical institutes. And they're supposed to equip young people with skills, technical skills, to be able to fend for themselves, especially in participation in the economic building of this country. I think that is one of the areas that we need to focus on. When you look at your county government, for example, when it is implementing its programs, ask questions as to how much are you allocating towards technical institutes, which are supposed to develop our technical capacity, so that we can also, as young people, participate not only in political arena, but also in the economic spheres. Because if without economic participation, then you'll have challenges with the participation at the political sphere.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa. And as you were speaking, you touched on solutions. And one of the things that I'm really curious about is that, you find that a lot of these people who are nominated at the county assembly, you find that many of them, are very old people. And yet we have young people who have, given themselves out, they've stood for these elections, but they have lost. Why is it that, why shouldn't we then consider that instead of populating, these nomination slots with older people or, people who probably they're not even interested in politics. It's just because someone just, pushed them inside. Is that one of the solutions, that at least pick these young people who have tried and nominate them?
Indeed, it is a solution. And I think that when you look at, for example, in Nyeri County, the number of nominated people in our county assembly, we have 14 of them. And I can tell you that out of the 14 of them, about 9 of them are young people. They are youths. So you find that the others who are nominated are all representing mainly the women or the gender matrix, and these are mainly women who are a bit older. So these 14 people are serving the purpose of representation of the young people and also the gender factor. And of course, in many counties, we also have the representation of the people with disability. But I would also want to challenge the young people, because when I look at the young people who have also been nominated in these county assemblies and also at the national level, you do not find or you don't hear so much of the voice of the people who are supposed to be representing. And that is a fact. I know for sure, out of experience, that I do not have a lot of young nominated MCAs who are so vocal about the plight of young people back in the villages, back in the estates, back in towns, back at home. And maybe that is where now we need to do a bit of sensitization. And maybe one of these days, AYLF should consider also sponsoring or having forums with young people who are nominated, elected in the county assemblies, in the National Assembly, at the Senate, and try to encourage them. Why don't we even, as a YLF, maybe come up even with an award system? You collect the Hansards and maybe position people in the 47 counties and listen in, like the way I've seen, I think Muzalendo or something, which does a bit of analysis of what happens at the National Assembly on our members of Parliament. We do the same thing with the county assembly so that we can see, are we having the young people's voice coming from the nominated and elected young leaders? How many bills, for example, are they sponsoring that have to do with empowering young people? How many motions are they bringing to the county assembly or even to the National Assembly that have to do with empowering young people? How many statements are they requesting that are going to be helping the young people to be much more empowered, to be more factored in, to be more considered? Are they giving this, are they taking advantage of this platform to push the young people's agenda? I think that would probably encourage more young people then to be the voice of other young people when they get to position, other than to only think about issues that would probably put them at a better position to just compete in the coming in the upcoming elections. So it is very, very important that we consider the voice of young people in the spheres where young people are given an opportunity.
Okay. So thank you very much, Mheshimiwa. And picking up from there, let's now move to Robin. And one of the gains of the Constitution was that it created special representative seats, for young people, women, and persons with disabilities. For example, the Senate creates 2 special seats for the youth. We also have, a quota also for the National Assembly. So what has been the impact of these provisions from where you stand as a legal consultant and policy analyst? And is it enough?
Okay, to start, I think I will answer your question and I'll have a rebuttal for every panelist on what they have touched on, because it kind of borders on my question. Mm-hmm. And to begin with, I will start with saying there's a reason you've quoted the Senate and not the National Assembly, and this is why. The Constitution says there are 2 seats for youth for the Senate, in the membership of the Senate. But in the membership of the National Assembly, it talks about 12 seats where you include the youth, the persons with disabilities, and the workers. But what has been going on is that the same way we've been having 2 youths in the National Assembly, which is not what is provided for. In fact, if you were to ask me, it would have been 10 youths and then 2 to represent the other minorities. But what we've been having is 2 youths, and the seats are normally used to reward political masters, I will say that. If you look at the current nominated seats for those 12 seats, you would see the likes of Jennifer Shamala. Her father was a minister. You'd see Oburu Odinga. You'd see Sosion. Those are the people who are taking the seats meant for, quote unquote, the youth and workers. But now, looking at what you've asked me, I would say we look at it from a analysis point of view, and look at it from this point. In 2013, when we had the first nominated youths for the Senate, looking at the Senate, there was a senator called Daisy Nyongesa and another one called Hosea Ounjwani. I would ask the question if any youth can associate or feel represented by the two. They served a full term, but no youth talks of them. Right now we have Victor Pringay and a lady called Mercy. The youths don't know them. So even if you were to look at it from a point of view of we have these slots, how are they being used? How are they being utilized? It's so frustrating to find out that you can be the representative for the youth and the youth don't know you. Then who are you representing to begin with? Because if the reason why I take the angle of civic education mostly is because one of the things I expect is if you are a leader, and that's been my rebuttal for Zach, because I don't consider talking of youth and saying our leaders do this, our leaders do this. I consider myself a leader. So what am I doing? What am I not doing that I'm supposed to be doing? And so in that angle, I would say the seats, one, they were created with a good intention. They have not been used with a good intention. So I cannot say they are enough or not enough because I've not seen them in work. I have not seen them being used appropriately. Secondly, secondly, I would go to the issue about Article 55, which you started with. And the point is we get lost between the point of being associated with and participating. And those are the two things. And that's been the disconnect between youth and leadership. Because there's a point of being associated with. Zach will tell you about political parties don't respect the youth. But the truth is, political parties associate with youth. They don't let the youth participate. They just associate with the youth. If I can ask you of the biggest parties in Kenya and you tell me who's the chairman for the youth wing for the party, you will not claim one. I talk to friends. I have friends in Jubilee. I have friends in ODM. I know of 4 people in Jubilee claiming to be the Secretary General for Jubilee. I know of 6 in ODM claiming to be the chairman. And it's just that back and forth where parties don't participate. It's not the participation of the youth. It's just association. So you make yourself. I will tell you, if he's gone to the ground, he will tell you what the old people have told him is, these seats are not given. You take them. So that's why you'll find 10 Secretary Generals for Jubilee Youth League and 10 chairmans for ODM Youth League. Because they have been told, these seats are not there to be awarded. You take them. So on that note, I'll come back to my rebuttals for the panelists. And Zach, I think from the panel, you can ask if no one is not yet married here, you can get one. We are trying to help you. But now, that was just a by the way. But on the same note, I would like you to view politics as a traditional point of view. View it from the voter's point of view. And this is what I mean. When they tell you they want to see your family before they vote for you, they expect to see some kind of leadership from how you portray your life. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's not like I support it, but I get where they are coming from. Because they are like, if you know the stress that goes on in a marriage, then you'd be able to understand the stress that goes on in a political office. But I don't support them. But if you want to call yourself a leader, you
She's
better.
saying priests are leaders.
Yes. Yes. I actually support that point. But the point is, you have to look at the kind of people you are asking your votes from and think from their point of view. You might not necessarily agree with it. That's the point. The point is you might not necessarily agree with the point of view of the voter, but you have to think like them. So on that note, I want to say I've vied for a seat. I vied for Kirinyaga County Speaker a year ago. And that was my rebuttal to Mheshimiwa, because I approached him. I didn't get much from his office or any support, but I tend to think it's because most of them thought I was looking for financial help, which I wasn't, but I was trying to look for mentorship for the seat I'm going for. I ended up not getting from him. Some people helped me from other sides, but the point I want to get is, it's not about the people you fight to get there. It's about the people you incorporate to get to that point. And he posed a challenge to us and say we should go after the opportunity. Now I'm posing a challenge to the youthful leaders to take hands of those who are trying to get to those seats. Because if you want to actually call yourself a leader and you see a leader trying to make something, it's a good opportunity for you to take their hand. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to give them money, but you have to show them the things and the do's and the don'ts of these kinds of seat. I will tell you, I stopped vying for the seat. I resigned from the seat once the MCAs told me to choose between having an impeachment motion for the governor and the other side replacing the chairmans for the committees. That's the choice I had to choose. So if I choose one, I get this side of the MCAs. If I choose the other, I get this other side of the MCAs. And I decided I won't do this, so I backed out of the race. And it's because of a professional decision based on my principles and the things I believed in and what I wanted to achieve with the seat. And last but not least, I'll come to Muthoni. And I will tell you one thing for free is why I like to talk about, why I'm passionate about people understanding things and understanding the Constitution before engaging, is because your argument on the 2/3 gender rule is based on the National Assembly. And if you looked at the county assembly, you would see a whole difference. I have friends who are MCAs in a number of county assemblies, and the one thing that I note is no one talks about what is happening at the county assembly. No one really engages on the 2/3 gender rule on the county assembly. What we should be fighting is the county assembly having the same on their executives. But now, since we are focused on the National Assembly, we fail to capture the whole attention. I was talking to Zach before here informally, and was saying how we should dissolve parliament because of the 2/3 gender rule. And I told him I don't engage in that conversation until I get a person who actually knows the numbers represented in all these institutions. I think I'll leave that for now, because time is not also on my side.
Okay. Thank you very much. Those were really great remarks, and I like that we're also thinking of solutions, and probably this is a clarion call also to the Africa Youth Leadership Forum to hold the hands of these upcoming leaders and to spur mentorship within the LYLF, because we have several leaders amongst us, including Mheshimiwa right here. And so I want us to now take the angle of youth unemployment, and that being one of the biggest problems that youth face in this country. And let me start with Zach again. It seems that the Constitution has clearly not delivered on the promise to ensure that the youth are employed. So, what is your take, and what do you think can be done? What opportunities also exist for young people?
Rakesho, I usually believe on my own, we don't have an employment crisis in this nation. There are employment, jobs are there, vacancies are there, but the resources to pay those who will get employed is the problem. But when we keep talking about unemployment, for instance, go to any ministry in this nation, all parastatals, you'll get empty desks, empty chairs, where someone should be sitting, but there is no one to offer that service there. There are some services, for instance, like an ID card, which you should be processed within 2 days. Nowadays, you can print an ATM card while standing there. And when we have the people, the manpower is the problem, but not the vacancies to fill there to cover the issue of unemployment. So my take is that this can only be solved out of when we curb corruption by the chapter 12 of the Constitution about public finance. Because people are routing money, funds for the nation, which sabotage the process of employment. if we could be getting the way to get these funds, we could be having enough money to pay the youth who we should employ in those ministries. So let us not keep this notion of saying unemployment in Kenya. It's not there. The problem is, where is the money to pay the young guys? Where is the money to pay them once they are employed? Since the government doesn't have that money to pay them, and has been stolen somewhere, do just a simple calculation of the amount that has been stolen. And I take, for instance, of a county where Mheshimiwa comes from. Some money is even it's past their budget over here, which they pay their county employees, they pay everyone in the county. It is past that amount where they are allocated. So our problem is about the funds, is not unemployment in the nation. And the way they could be solved, the way they can solve it is not even by the Big Four agenda that the president was coming up with. The Big Four agenda was a very good, wonderful thing, but has been sabotaged by the issue of the BBI, which even Kenyans don't understand. I personally don't understand why. What is BBI? Why do we have it? And the Big Four agenda was the best thing. Now, with the Big Four agenda, on the side of the Big Four agenda could have really addressed this issue. But facing on in terms of corruption, if they implement that chapter 12 of the Constitution, we will get money and we will be able to employ people. We will pay them salaries and we will never complain about unemployment in this nation. So that's what can be done. But the notion of the unemployment in Kenya, I was saying it yesterday, it was about 42% of the youth now stands at being unemployed. That's not our take. Our take is about where is the money to pay them. There is no unemployment in Kenya. We have so many vacancies which are there. We have so, and then there is one thing that they should do. This issue of the ministries, all the public service commission, advertising jobs in terms of experience, 10-year experience, 5 years experience. How do you expect? I just graduated from university. I was not working. For me to be an HR somewhere, just directing and doing some few filing, you want me to have 10 years experience. That is locking youth out. You graduated and now you are waiting for experience and you are not being given a job. By the time you are at your 40s with no employment, now they need an experience. Where will you get it from? So this issue of this can be reviewed. Mheshimiwa, you can table even that. So that they can be able to review this issue of experience. Experience is not it's not something that can give you brain to work and deliver in the office. What you got from your university, all what you learned from there, from how you went for your internship, your attachment, you can deliver. That's my take.
Thanks, Zach, and thank you for that. And at least that's a take-home assignment for Mheshimiwa here when he goes back, relooking some of these policies to ensure, youth employment within our counties. And also, if we implement Chapter 12, as you mentioned, then we'll be heading in the right direction. And so, Mheshimiwa, once again, earlier you had talked about, the institutions that have been put in place. So basically, what can be done to ensure that more and more youth take up opportunities that exist in our counties? And what are those opportunities? Because as Robin was pointing out earlier, a lot of the problems that youth have is that they are not aware of some of these opportunities. So what opportunities exist and what can be done for them to take them up?
Yeah, thank you very much. I maybe first want to maybe just reply to Robin because he touched on my case. Robin has said he had wanted to take an opportunity in the county, and clearly he can tell you there was an opportunity for the speaker in the county assembly of Kirinyaga. Yeah, but Robin did not want to go the full hog. So I don't know at what point he wanted my mentorship. I don't know. I don't know whether it is when he was dropping off or when. Yeah, because what I have seen happening is that for sure, if you want mentorship and if really you want something, you will get it. There's a group of young people who have been looking for me for the last 2 months. And, we get a lot of calls every day, a lot of messages every other day. And as much as you may want, sometimes you may not be able to probably address all the calls and all the people who require your attention. You may not be able to do that 100%. And so what I have seen very necessary or very important and very good with some of young people who really want that mentorship, they also go an extra mile. Those young people came looking for me last week in the office. And actually they asked me, now Speaker, because we have this challenge and can we talk to the persons or the people you work with so that we can see if we can be able to. And they came last week and I was so happy because I spent the whole day with these young people. From morning to evening, I took them through the whole process of assembly and they even participated at the public gallery. And these are young people who are zealous and they're ambitious and they want to be people of impact in the society. And we are more than happy and willing really to mentor young people who want to come into or who want to take up opportunities that exist. And so first I would want to say that next time, my friend Robin, when you purpose to go for that position, go the full hog and you will get it. And don't be pushed off by the MCAs when they tell you that you must be able to do this when we bring you on. One of the questions I was asked whether I fear being jailed when I was vying for the position of the Speaker. And of course, when now you are the Speaker and you are there, you will now use your wisdom and your influence to guide the members of County Assembly in the right direction. And with that, of course, you are impactful. So it's good that we do it, and I don't mind mentoring you, Robin, even as we move forward. And what opportunities exist? I want to say the opportunities that we have in the political arena are so few. You see, you are counting the numbers in terms of hundreds. So when you talk of 3,000 opportunities, for example, for members of County Assembly, those are just so few opportunities. Most of the opportunities exist in the wider community where you don't even have political or rather you don't need to politically acquire that position like through elections. And that is why I'm talking of looking at the aspect of giving skills to the young people as a very, very important and key aspect in youth empowerment. And we have opportunities also in business. And these opportunities in business, you have to, of course, be ready and willing to put your best foot forward to be able to get these opportunities. And when you look for opportunities half-heartedly as a young person, then you are likely not to get to the end of that venture. We have the issue of employability, which I see Zach is actually highlighting. And this issue of employability and the issue of having experience becomes a big, big hindrance to a lot of young people getting opportunities or acquiring the opportunities. Again, remember, the opportunities that are also available in the white-collar jobs are also very, very, very limited. But even those ones, young people have a problem getting because of the experience and such kind of things. So I suggest one thing is let us pursue the issue of volunteerism as an important aspect that would help you to get experience. I know I did volunteerism for 2 years between my Form 4 and going to the university. And that, I always quoted it as part of my experience, and it helped me to be more employable. In Nyeri County, we have also created a platform for young people, something I know AYLF has taken note of in the past as we were discussing. We have, we did pass a bill and a motion that supported internship program. So every year we have an internship program for young people who are coming from colleges, also from technical institutes, and even from institutions of higher learning. We have 200 of them that are usually taken in different departments in the county. And once you have the 200 of them, they get and acquire experience in their own fields for a whole 1 year. And so when they live there and they get a small stipend, when they live there, they are more employable. And some of them actually even get opportunities still in the county government. So it is a way of trying to ensure that young people become more employable. They get the requisite skills that are required for them to get jobs. Yeah, but then let's remember that there are more opportunities in the blue collar jobs than we have in the white collar jobs. And I know a lot of young people who have employed themselves through beekeeping, through horticulture, and through poultry farming. And some of them did not start big, they started small and they grew. Some people ask, but where will we get market? I know I have a small farm that I do with my dad at home. And we do chicken farming. And one of the biggest challenges we are having today is production of eggs. We have more people who require eggs. As far as 10 kilometers away, they have heard the only place you can get eggs is in so-and-so's home. They come all the way, and we can't meet the demand, even a quarter of the demand that we have today. And I have suggested we are going to increase that poultry farm to be a bigger poultry farm so that we can probably serve that demand better. I know of a farm in Embu, which I want to visit very soon, where it is being run by a young person who is probably very well exposed, came from abroad, started a poultry farm, and he gave me his experience. He told me that he has 7,000 chicken by now, but he did not start there. And the eggs he produces on a daily basis are so much, yet none of those eggs leaves his farm gate. All of them are bought within the farm because there are more people who require these foodstuffs than sometimes you can imagine. Yeah, so we just need to drop off those barriers that we put in our minds and get to do it, and just start small and grow in it. And as you grow in it, the more experienced you become. And by the time you have grown to a certain level within maybe 4 or 5 years, so long as you're consistent and you remain doing it, by the time you're doing 5 years in poultry farming, for example, you'll probably be one of the best poultry farmers in Kenya, and you will never ever require employment by anyone. And it is possible, it can be done. We have seen it being done, and that would be my challenge to young people. There are very many opportunities.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. And yeah, I'm sure that is extremely inspiring, not to us also, but to all of the young people who are watching us from home. And I want to invite Muthoni to also, please give us a few of your sentiments on the whole issue of youth and unemployment in our country. And then finally, when you are done, we'd love to hear what Robin has to say in terms of our policies and our laws. One of the gains that the Constitution came with is that 30% of procurement opportunities were said to be left for youth, women, and persons with disabilities. So from that legal and policy aspect, has that been enough? Qua ground, our youth are benefiting from these opportunities. So over to you, Muthoni, then Robin.
Thank you for that, Wakesho. I think from where I sit, it's I've just been from what I've been seeing from Mheshimiwa, who is someone I admire because those are the places that we intend to get to. I believe when someone gets an opportunity, like I was just going over my head, telling myself, I hope when I get to where I intend to get to, if I'll even ever be governor or the president of this country, I hope I will not forget the challenges I've gone through as a young person to even get close to those positions. And that's notwithstanding, I really feel like it's not easy to get to this. So sometimes it's not about how much effort you're putting, because I believe we have so many people who are putting their best foot forward in trying to get to where they want, but more often than not, do we get. However, and at the same time, with what he said about people not only looking into government for opportunities, I totally agree with this. I served as the Secretary General for Kenyatta University, and I have seen students and students in university being way creative, people coming up with ideas and implementing these things and taking up small jobs. In that line and in that light, I would like to share that as a young person who has been trying to put even some businesses here and there, I recently was trying to register a company and do some few things with with some company I'm setting up. But I've been able to see the constraints and challenges we face, even as a young person. Yes, I'm not taking it away from the government. Government has we have loans which are being given to youth, Uwezo Fund, all these things. We are not taking away from the government. But by the time we get these loans, how hard is it for a youth to access these loans? How hard is it for us to even win those tenders that we are being told about, the 30% that has been mentioned? I can also say the criteria for even registration of company, it starts with these small things. For instance, doing a name search just at the registrar of company. How much would it cost you? Kipi, we have Kipi registration for copyright and intellectual property. How much does it charge for us to do? You see, if the government can be able to take, I don't want to be the person who keeps on crying, oh, serikali. But at the same time, if we can be able to even make these costs for simple things as company registration, the procedure, for it not to be so hectic for a person to feel worn out by the time you are done, it would be so helpful for the youth. So personally, I feel like employment, yes, I would urge my fellow youths to look outside the box, to look into what else can you do. You might be trained in a particular area. And as at now, we all understand that so many people have gone to school. Yeah? We have universities, graduations, day in, day out. It's not like Kitambo when we used to have only a few educated people. We have so many people who are schooled. However, we need to really think outside the box. So I would embrace that point of people looking outside what we think is what should happen. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, mine I'll start, I'll say it as a story from a policy point of view. And my story is, back in 2018, I joined up with some fellow youth. We formed a lobby group. And what we were lobbying for is a cabinet secretary to be a youth. And in our quest, we got to be involved in very high-level meeting per se, both at State House, at Sharia House, at Harambee House. And one of the places it led us to is to the workshop on with the PSC, Public Service Commission. And we got to understand some few things on policy that might be hard to explain to the youth out there, and something that is a big gap between what is happening and what is required to be to be done. And one of the key things that they were pointing out is PSC in every year has what they call entry-level jobs, and they do not require experiences. But what happens is those jobs are meant for the youth, but how it goes on is the youth that generally get those jobs never finish an year or two in those positions. They get to the government side and they notice government job is just waking up, showing up to an office, changing computers and going home. And they're like, no. In a year's time, somebody moves on. And so government has had the problem of retaining youths in public sector because they feel the youth are not service-oriented per se. But on the other side is we also have the issue of the youth having education that is not primed to the kind of jobs that are being offered in the public sector. So we've had the challenge of between 2002 and 2010 where we've had so many universities given charters to offer degrees. And the degree courses that are being offered do not really align to what the government jobs have to offer. So you find people doing courses that in real sense do not have an opportunity in I'm not trying to break anyone's heart, but truth be told. And so in a policy point of view, you get that gap where you have a lot of graduates with degrees that do not really align to the government type of jobs. Then we have those that do align to the government jobs that get into the government works and just do for 1 year or 2 years and move out because it's not their kind of thing, quote unquote. And so you have that gap of many unemployed people out there. So back to what you had asked earlier. So the 30% allocation for procurement is not actually a product of the Constitution. It's just Article 55, where the President issued a directive, again, from an initiative by a nominated youth MP, Johnson Sakaja. So he tried to amend the Public Disposal Act to include that, and the president gave a presidential directive for 30% to be allocated to the minorities. That's the youth, persons with disabilities, and women. And what has happened is, once that directive came over, we have something in policy we call elite capture. So what happened is, a lot of companies were registered with the names of the youths so as to get that AGPO certificate, access to government procurement certificate. But the youths who are registered as directors are actually not directors of the company. The companies are owned by still these old men who've been eating away the procurement, but now using the youth's name just to get the AGPO certificate. But on the other side, there are still some youths who have actually gone to the core of registering a company, getting the certificate, and doing the tenders. And you get the problems of financing, the problem of what you want done, and technology has a bit evolved. And so sometimes you get a project. I have some companies I run. You get a project that what it requires you to use is not available in Kenya. So you need finances to actually go out of Kenya to bring a product that is needed in Kenya, and it was not even provided for in school. So at the same level, you come to that gap of our education system, our policy system, and how we run our service. So one of the biggest problems that the old guys will not tell you, the old guys, the people you know have been in government for 50 years and they are not leaving. One of the things they will not tell you is that government does not, PSC is not giving them that contributory pension. So if you leave your job before 55, you don't get pension. So some of them would want to leave, but at the level where they are, I have to wait for 55 so that I can get my pension from this job. And those are the kind of the things that are a bit not tied to the Constitution, because again, we don't know the Constitution, so the people who are there will always tell you it's in the Constitution, that's why they can't leave. But the truth is, it's not in the Constitution. It's just some policy problems that we need to address and come and sit together as one. The problem is, I will come to the issue of youth versus youth. The biggest enemy of the youth right now is the youth themselves. So before you get to explain some of these things, you'll be branded as someone who went to the government and they converted you to become one of them, just because you went there and understood what the problem actually was. So if we had that talk, if we had that forum where you could be getting to really understand what is facing these people on this other side, then we could actually be forming solutions. But if we get on that side of the government should do this, I will tell you one thing. Anybody in the government does not like a person who will say the government must, the government should. You will never get anywhere. You go to discuss with them. I've formed many lobby groups, and the biggest problem we have is when the youth enter a boardroom and the first thing they say is you should not, you must. And from that point on, we'll not have a conversation. I once sat with a retired director of youth. Her name was Susan Njau. And one of the person I was working with, we go to the office and he looks at the lady and tells her, so you're the director for youth. Why are you the director for youth and you're not a youth? So before even we start our lobbying or even we start explaining our project, we are already down. We've already been cut down. And I will tell you, the response was funny because the lady asked the guy, so if the director of the youth should be a youth, is the director of fisheries a fish? Let me leave it for there, and I will answer one thing from Mheshimiwa Yuchi Post. I wanted to go the full hog. I surely would. But the reason I came to your office was the fact that when I was posed with that question of supporting an impeachment or replacing chairmen for the committees, I told myself I do not have the monopoly of wisdom to know how to go around this. So I need people who've been at this point before me so that they can tell me whether I should actually weigh in with them or just give my own opinion on what I think of the whole thing. So when I didn't get that, that's when I decided to back down. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Robin. This has honestly been a very great discussion, and unfortunately we are...
Can I just point out something? That,
just a second, so that as you're pointing it out, I also point out a question to you. So yes, as I'm saying, we are now, it's 10 minutes past 3. We promised to stop at 3. So kindly bear with us for just another 10 minutes so that I pose your questions to the panelists and then wrap it up. They'll have a parting shot and wrap it up. So so Derek, so thank you first to everyone who has been following the conversation. And so Derek says the Constitution is just as good as its implementers. And, Juma agrees with everything that the panelists are saying. And also there's a comment here that practicalization of matters out of experience here. Truth be told, the youth are enemies of their own, unfortunately. So then the question to you, Mr. Speaker, is how are the elected and nominated youth in the county assembly performing? Or, how are they doing in representation? So once you answer that, then I will quickly come with, questions for everyone as your parting shots.
Well, I think I had answered that question. And you people will make me be skinned alive. I do not discuss the performance or the misperformance of my members of county assembly or any other county assembly in public. You don't do that as a speaker.
This is a safe space. Safe space.
Can't be safe. We are live, remember? Yeah. So, but I said definitely we need much more. I know that for sure. That we need a bigger voice. People who get nominated or elected as young people, they need to really speak a little bit. But maybe also we, as the ones who are not nominated or elected, maybe you also need to push them a little bit more to speak more. And when you have issues, push and push until you get what you want. So really, I don't think I want to go further than that. And I just wanted to point it out that we are very interested in youth mentorship on a very serious note. And I don't take issue of mentoring young people lightly. I can tell you, and Gabriel, the person who probably is a coordinator for those people who are watching us live, you may not see or know Gabriel here, but he may let you know that I have left a live show on a national television. When I saw my time was going to eat into this program, I excused myself. And I'm very happy to Swale Salim of NTV, because he has actually brought me up to here. Because time was not on our side, he actually called one of the outriders and escorted me to here so that we could make it here on time. Because I told him, you see, I even sent him all the flyers I had. I told him, see, I am supposed to go to a youth event. And with the youth, you don't let them down. So I had to leave. I left another senior advocate who now handled the news at 1 at a national television. And that is a seriousness with which we take these activities with. The day I committed to participate in this, I had to come all the way from Nyeri to participate in this. So we take it very, very passionately and very, very dearly to our hearts. And that is why I would want to encourage Muthoni, the moment and the day you get an opportunity to serve, don't forget also, remember the young people and work with them. And I'm happy that you are the Secretary General of KUSA at some point. I was the chairman of KUSA 2006, 2007. And under me served a young lady as a Sec Gen who was Marianne Jambi, who was maybe a little bit shorter than you are. And she did pretty well. She did pretty well. And today she is still pushing. And the other day she was a contestant actually in a Molo constituency. And it was interesting because the person who defeated her in Molo constituency was also a student at KU. No, at KU actually. He was also a comrade who actually joined Kenyatta University in 2008. And Marianne had left in 2007. So you can see those were two young people, comrades, And that tells you that in Kenyatta University, young people prosper.
Mheshimiwa, please
Thank
say
you
that
very much.
again.
Oh, yeah, indeed.
We the people of KU. We the people.
Yeah.
We the people of KU are taking over.
Yeah.
So anyway, so thanks guys, and so just basically your parting shots. Robin, you've been speaking very passionately about people not knowing what the Constitution talks about and everything. So I want you to, in your parting shots, because the one thing is that youth are clearly not prioritized in civic education, meaning they're often not aware and they lack the capacity to engage in these issues because they do not know. So what can you tell the youth, and what do you think should be done? Muthoni and Zach here, we are talking about constitutional reform. Is it too soon, or does that reform, does the BBI, will it now finally deliver on what we have not been able to deliver? And also, Mheshimiwa, probably again your clarion call to the youth once more, and also your view. It would be good to know, are we already mutilating the Constitution? Someone yesterday said that the Constitution was just a ceasefire moment, and now that we should 10 years to come, we should think about a different regime and basically reform. So as a parting shot, so we can start with you, Rob.
Okay. Mine, I'll just give it as a call to everyone out there. And I'll give you a scenario where we are not supposed to take most of our challenges as just the end of it, but an opportunity to create a solution. I'm looking forward to the day that I'll see a youth come up with a system on how we can participate and we can get information on anything and everything governance going on in this country. I will tell you one thing, that we are called to have public participation in almost every project, in all budgets. And the problem is, when they want you to register for Huduma number, they do it on the television and on the Facebook. But when they want you to come for public participation, they do it at the chief's office, which you don't know where it is. And it's that call that you need to know. These are the challenges that have been put to us, but it's not upon us to just rant about them, but come up with ways of how we can beat the system. So rather than I would offer myself to be going to the chief and taking that picture and sending to all WhatsApp groups. I have been doing that for some time. I think some people find it funny, or some people just find it very amusing, but I do that all the time, because at the same time, I wish we would be having a public participation on webinar, on Zoom, and rather than in a church space, in the parking of a church, in some place you don't know. When we have high-end meetings, they are held in high-end hotels where you are not allowed to go in if you don't have a suit. I am lucky enough I wear suits, but that should not stop you from attending those meetings. And I don't want to talk much about it because I can go on and on, but I just want to call for the youth out there that each and everything that you see that is going against what is supposed to be at our hearts and our interest as youth, we should not be viewing it as a challenge per se, but an opportunity to make something great out of it. And that's why I've made my call to always support that Youth for Youth motion and just push for youth to always support each other. I think I'll part with that for now because I can talk so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Muthoni?
On the question about the referendum, I think I should, on the question about the referendum, my view about it is we have not seen a clear, elaborate stand. However, yesterday, the president, the way, the temperature, we mentioned how he was speaking, there was some hint that is the direction we might be taking. It is well known to us. The only two ways we can change the constitution, it's either through parliament or through getting the signatures, now through publicly getting signatures from the people to change the constitution. Time is a big question. Not unless we have their term or tenure extended a bit so that can create room. And having the pandemic is also an issue. We have so many Kenyans, so many who have lost their jobs, they've lost their means of survival. So having a referendum as at now, I don't think would serve the purpose. Because I would openly speak from where I sit. I can really see, I've gone through the BBI and I've been able to see that from the BBI, we've had there's a 7-year tax evasion, yeah, for youth. That is one. That's what, whenever you ask the question, what do we youths get from the BBI? You're told the 7-year tax vacation. That once you have a small starting business, you're going to be given 7-year tax space. Okay, for women, what do we get? You'll be told, for women, there's if a governor is a male, probably then the woman will be the deputy governor. Those are some of the recommendations that were placed there. I hope I'm right. From what I read, and I believe it's the actual document. So
It is.
I like that you wrote that.
And those are some of the things that are enticing for those of us who will give those questions. But however, in these rallies that we've been seeing people going across the country, the main thing that has stood out about the BBI is that the creation of these positions of the executive. And that is what has been standing out, that there might be a prime minister, there's a deputy prime minister, and all these positions. Yes, the spirit, it might be coming from a good concern whereby they want to include other tribes and other things. But I don't think as Kenya, as 10 years, we the people, I don't think we are at the point where we need to change the law at this point. For me, that doesn't sit well with me. I don't think we should change have a change of the constitution. We shouldn't at this point. Let me give you an example from my parting shot. I was watching Githu Muigai's interview in NTV, and he posed a question that I've always been looking at. How many times has the United States changed its constitution? But we always feel a different regime of leadership whenever someone different comes. Give you an example of Barack Obama. We saw him as who he is. We saw Bill Clinton. We saw people. We saw leadership. We saw character. And now we are having Donald Trump. It's quite controversial. People have how they feel about him. However, we can be able to see the difference between all these people without necessarily changing the constitution. So as at this point, the constitution is still young. We need the implementation of the constitution before we think of changing some clauses, changing some articles. Let's first work with what we have. Let's first ensure that the spaces that were created by the constitution, the bodies that have been formulated to create checks and balances on the government have been enabled. If these people who have been selected to sit on this, for example, the Gender and Equality Commission, all these commissions that have been formulated from the constitution, if we can see for sure they have not done work, let them go home, because these are people who are being paid way good money. Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, by the way, let me, that one was at the back of my mind. We are having so many people who have been taken to court, yeah? But we are not seeing the end. We are not seeing those people who have been prosecuted being brought to book. I think we should start by that, other than start by wanting to change the law. And I think I can actually talk for hours talking on that issue. However, given another opportunity, we would like to also talk best and put our feelings about corruption in the country. So let us see the bodies which have been given the mandate to see these issues being at the forefront of bringing justice and shedding light into issues that are affecting the young people and women in this country. Thank you.
Thanks, Muthoni. And finally, Zach, then Mheshimiwa, is the solution to the youth constitutional reform?
The constitution, actually, I know the president hinted that we are going to have a new, some amendment in our constitution. But as Zach, I usually stand on something that is for the Kenya and for the people of Kenya. We don't need a constitution amendment. What we need is implementation. The only thing you see, as Muthoni has said in rallies, is about inclusivity. They keep on talking about inclusivity. There is nothing good for the youth in the BBI. There is nothing good for the women in BBI. For instance, if you tell me that when a governor is a man, then the opposite gender should be the deputy governor. They should go further and say the deputy governor or the other gender should be a young person at a certain age and add again the gender inside it. But not about changing the constitution. These are just mere politics about bring some interest of people. I watched the ODM leader, Raila Odinga, talking about inclusivity. The same thing Kalonzo again was talking about, the inclusivity. But there's no one who talked about our nation, about corruption. There's no one who talked about the youth, the young people. There's no one who talked about the women or about how do we want to take Kenya forward. Taking Kenya forward, they will tell you, is that they want to create more posts for the political losers, bring them into executive, and curbing them into executive, yes, it's okay. But let us remember one thing. When you bring these people, there also a payment they will be getting from the government, from the taxpayers' money. So to me, having a new constitution, it's not yet time. And with one president, actually, it is only our dear president who has gone through this constitution from 2013 to where we are. Now, having a new constitution, which only the other constitution that you want to put aside, you have tested that constitution with one president, and it is a time that we want to devolve the government where the Kina Mheshimiwa sits. Within 10 years, you want to change the constitution. Why can't we give in? If there is another president who will be coming in, then we can think about that. Now it's not working. This will have to come with a new constitution. And let the inclusivity part, I think, is captured in the current constitution. So we're having these kind of things about talking every single day about politics in the nation, about the BBI. 2019, we were talking about the BBI. 2020, we'll talk about the BBI. And perhaps next year again, we'll talk about the BBI. Nothing is going on in this nation. We are at a standstill. The president, what I will urge him do, he was having good mind in the Big Four agenda. Now the Big Four agenda has disappeared somewhere in the BBI, which a majority of people, as I usually say, majority of people don't understand what BBI is. They only know about Building Bridges Initiative. What is Building Bridges Initiative? It is about the handshake. That's what they know.
Yeah.
But you ask someone to articulate about what is contained inside that document. They can't tell you what's really the Big Four, the BBI means. But what they will know is about in the rallies, hey, we want a prime minister, we want a president, we have CG what. It's not time to have that kind of games with our nation.
Thank you so, Zach, for those great remarks. And finally, we have Mheshimiwa. Is this the solution for the youth that they need?
I like the way these panelists have put it, and I could not have put it actually any better than Muthoni here. And Robin and Zach, you have also put it very beautifully. And really that is what I hear the youth are saying. The reforms will not give the young people a solution. In fact, from what I gather from them, even if I was not even to give my own opinion, just from what I'm gathering from the young people who are with me here, is that the solution will not be found in review of the Constitution. In fact, it is clear, and the leadership need to know that, with the young people, there doesn't seem to be so much in this change agenda. And I also look at it that way. The change that we are advocating for here has nothing really to do with even economic empowerment. It has just a little bit more to do with the political representation. And when it is political representation, it's about how we take interest of so and so and who and who and so and so. And that, to me, shouldn't, as Muthoni puts it, sit well with us. And so I would want to say young people then need to come up with an alternative voice. And that alternative voice should go together with the clarion call now, we the people. And when you talk about the we the people, then we also need to bring about the youth agenda. What about employment? You want to change the constitution, what about employment? in Article 55, as you have put it, one of the constitutional provisions here is that young people will have access to employment. So have they gotten access to employment? So why do you want to change the constitution if Article 55 in itself has not had an impact in our lives? The problem we have in Kenya is not having a constitution, is actually having no constitutionality and constitutionalism. The culture and the behavior of Kenyans and the Kenyan leaders and all of us is in such a way that even if you put the best constitution here, we will still not be able to achieve what it is that we want because of our culture and the way we are perceiving issues. Look at the way we have disenfranchised the judiciary. Look at the way we have politicized the commissions that Muthoni here expects and hopes that they can help us as a country to check certain aspects. And when, for example, I look at the issue of this Commission on a Gender Commission, the only areas I know they have had much more impact on is where politics are concerned. I know I have friends there, and but to be very sincere, how much impact is it having on Mama Mboga, on the woman in the street, on the woman in the village? How much of the Gender Commission impact has been felt in the villages by women? And I can tell you, there lies the challenge. So, again, young people will probably be the biggest number in the political rallies to change the constitution, but I'm not very sure it will have so much impact in their lives. So, why spend funds? Why spend billions of Kenya shillings in a referendum, in a constitutional change? Why not use these 10 billion Kenya shillings to revamp the youth polytechnics all over this country and ensure that young people get skills that can make them more employable? Well, I want to tell young people as we conclude that it is up to you as a person to take initiative also and to ensure that from within you comes the force and energy to propel you to the levels that you want to get to. It is not about how your hand is held. It's not about how you are listened to. It's not about whatever opportunities you are presented with. As you progress more, you realize it is about much more about what you believe in, what comes from within you, and the push and energy that you generate from your own self. That determination, that commitment, that dedication, that focus is definitely what is much more important to your progress and to take you, to help you get where you want to go. That indeed is what will help you as a young person. If you wait too much on assistance from external forces, then it might just be a challenge. And I say that to encourage you as a young person to take it up to you and ensure that you capacitate yourself and your mind to move to another level. And I can tell you, for a hardworking person, you will never lack someone to wash your hands or wash. I'm trying to interpret something from my dialect. Yeah, you know, you will definitely have someone to hold your hand when you get to the level that you have pushed yourself onto. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa, and all the panelists. So finally, two last comments from you guys as we wind up. Juma Anuro says that I have been in a position to go through a couple of the policies, and I must admit we have very good documents. What we need right now is the implementation for us to uphold and protect the Constitution. And finally, Muka says, I would state as Zach is saying, even if we got 60,100,000, and that number is large, new constitutions and poor implementation, then we would lack in everything, every time. So thank you very much. Again, thank you to our panelists for making time to be here, and for Mheshimiwa, you had another engagement, so thank you for dumping them and choosing to to be with us today. And Also to the online audience, we have taken 1 hour, 35 minutes of your time. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for staying right till the end. Thank you for everyone who has connected via Facebook and Twitter and IG. And finally, thanks to our partners, Harry Heights, where this has been shot, and to Cornerstone Uganda for all their support. And finally, I want to welcome all of us to follow AYLF on our social media pages. That's at AYLF_Kenya on Twitter and on Instagram. And finally, Facebook Africa Youth Leadership Forum. And if any of you is looking for mentorship, for training, for any manner of support, please come to AYLF, because at AYLF, our work is to nurture a young breed of new leaders. So thank you very much. And once again, see you next time, same place for our next conversation. And before we go, we want to leave you with a couple of clips, what you guys have been saying about the Constitution at 10. Asanteni sana and goodbye.
Thank you.
So much.
Okay, that was the Nini. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. You were very good host.
You have done it well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can host any show anywhere.
Thank you.
It's been almost 10 years since the new constitution promulgation. My name is Pijino Dimwengu, the party leader of the upcoming youth political party called Accountability and Transparency Party. I'd like to say that it has been 10 years of a lot of challenges, but I must first of all appreciate the coming of devolution. And the intention of devolution was purely to help the people and decentralize services close to the people. But 10 years down the line, we face two big challenges. That's corruption. Corruption has eaten every good intention of devolution, and that goes back to the leadership. For us to rectify and correct the mistakes of this country, we must change the leadership. We should not change the constitution, but rather change the leadership. It's time to do this. Let's change the monkeys in the forest and try the same for us for the next generation. Thank you.
These young people, and so I think this is one of the great strides of the constitution. Do we have a space to do more? I think good implementation of all other articles of the constitution will see to it that we reap a lot of benefits from the constitution. But so far, I believe, looking back in retrospect, I believe we've come a long way, and there's still so much that we can reap out of this constitution. So, yeah.
It's been almost
So much. So today we celebrate the 2010 draft, and as a young person, I believe that the draft remains one of the most progressive documents. And therefore, the question of reviewing the document 10 years later, I treat that one as a misplaced priority. As a young person, I'd wish to know the extent to which the Constitution has been implemented and what are some of the avenues which we can use to realize the Constitution to its entirety. And therefore, today, politicians have turned Kenya into a laboratory for testing constitutional experiments, and young people ought to ask that to whose benefits are such experiments. And therefore, as a young person again, I'd wish to encourage others to also question from which directions are the trumpets of reviewing the constitutions being blown from. Thank you.
initiative. And therefore, adherence to this rule of law is what we actually need. So a new constitution or an old constitution is not really the issue, but can we, start practicing and being, people who are action-oriented in what we have, in what guides us. And lastly, let us be realistic and let us be serious with promoting the special interest groups. And that one, we are talking about women, people living with disabilities and youth and marginalized groups. Let us involve them in the seriousness.
The document, because it has paved way to where we are reached now as a country. An example is to do with economic redistribution of wealth in Kenya. But at the same time, I would also like to say that it has also reflected the fundamental flaws that have existed. And therefore, my take is that we as citizens, elected or not, it should be a responsibility for us to uphold and protect the Constitution. Thank you very much. God bless you.